What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Extremely Decent Video Game Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Lewis, and joining me today is Nathan Hodge.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. So you had to drive over here in the rain. I know how much you love to do that.
Actually, I got lucky today, and I completely missed all of the rain until I got onto your road, and then it was just a light sprinkle by that point. So.
It's like the gods were urinating on you.
Or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special edition podcast. We're going to be covering this little beauty here known as Horizon Zero Dawn. So if that game does not entice you whatsoever, you might not want to stick around. Or if it doesn't entice you and you want to be sold on it, maybe stick around. Because me and Nate are both pretty hyped for the game. So we're going to be covering that game today, guys. And we're going to get right into it because we don't like to do a whole lot of intro bloat, if you will. So without further ado, Nate, let's talk about this game, shall we?
Let's do it.
We figured out that the girl's name is Aloy.
Aloy. See, we just watched the
trailer.
Aloy, I think.
Aloy.
We just watched the trailer.
All right, well,
I can't remember.
Aloy, we'll say.
Aloy.
And she is the protagonist in this game, and I think it's cool that they're choosing a female as the main protagonist, and that, you know, they're empowering women in games now. Like, we need to see more of this. And so, yeah, it's following her, and she's part of the Nora tribe. Now, that name, I'm pretty sure we're right on.
Yeah, we got that one right.
Yeah, so she's part of the Nora tribe, but she's an outcast.
Right.
Shunned out of the tribe for reasons I think they're
not clear yet.
Yeah.
A lot of the story is shrouded in mystery. That is one of the reasons that you'll be uncovering along your way in this journey. So we don't really know why she's an outcast, but she is. So, and you know, this is a great story device to let the player, you know, be in tune with the character you're playing, because they don't know everything because they're an outcast. We don't know everything because we're being introduced to the world, so we get to take this journey along with the character in this discovery of just, you know, everyday stuff. So
yeah, it says most of the content we're going over is from this month's Game Informer magazine, so let's just be transparent about that. Yeah. It says the main story involves finding out how the world became to be so desolate, and why humans are living this pre-industrial state, and why the machines are so violent. So those are like the motivators in the game.
Right, yeah. I mean, those are the standout features of the game, is the world that you're in. I think that's what's captivated a lot of people's imaginations when it comes to this game, because we're in a very like tribal, you know, human existence, but at the same time there's giant,
yeah, it's postmodern
dinosaurs basically wandering around. So that's the biggest question, right? Is like, how did the world get to this point?
Right. And outside of there being these dinosaurs that are made of some kind of weird technology, there is the fingerprint of a modern day civilization that used to exist, because you do see crumbled skyscrapers that have been taken over by, you know, trees and just kind of like grown into the earth, so to speak. So we know there was some kind of modern civilization.
Yeah.
But you're in a tribe, you know, complete with tiki huts and you know, campfires and that thing. So it's kind of like that's what really has me intrigued, is like the fact that this is like post-apocalyptic.
Right.
That's really cool. They can do a lot of interesting things there. So speaking of tribes, let's talk about that. She's from the Nora tribe. Now, these people, they pray to a god, and their god is the god of fertility. And what?
Or is the Nora tribe the one that worships the mountain?
Well, the mountain is like it's like their god's embedded in their world.
Okay, so yeah, because they
prayed to the mountain.
Gotcha.
And that's like
that's the source of all life in this lore, I think. So maybe all the tribes worship the mountain as the source of life.
I don't think so.
Maybe it's just one particular tribe, and then the Nora tribe's the fertility goddess.
Yeah, because some tribes think that the dinosaurs are raging because the gods are upset.
Right. Okay.
So they all have their own like kind of depiction of like who the gods are, what they're all about. So yeah, I don't think they all believe in a fertility god, because it specifically says the Nora tribe believes in the fertility god.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm guessing they all have their own take. But what's cool is it's represented by a mountain, and it's like they have a shrine that they go and they pray to the mountain, which is kind of cool.
I have a theory on this mountain, Lyle.
Okay.
They say in the article that a lot of people have had theories about how the world got this way, but no one's really been right. My theory, when I read that part about a mountain where all life came from, there is a real life thing called a seed vault, and basically it's got species of all kinds of plants all stored in this one vault close to the Arctic Circle. So if there was a cataclysmic event that would wipe out all life on Earth, there's a store of seeds up in this mountain that's just waiting to be released if something happens to the planet. And I'd be willing to bet that there's some connection there.
I see what you're saying.
Like the mountain they worship is the seed vault that exists today with all of Earth's life stored in it, ready to be used after an apocalyptic event.
I like that theory a lot, actually. I do like it a lot. They did say that the game wasn't necessarily fictional. Actually, that it wasn't fictional, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think what they meant is that there's no supernatural phenomenon in this game.
Right,
There's no magic. Everything's going to be based in
some kind of reality.
A real life, like, they want to make this world seem like it could actually happen. So you're not going to have magic spells or anything like that. Everything will be based in, like, a realistic working way.
Right. To some degree of realism.
Right, yeah.
Because, like, some of the weapons you see are used, there's some kind of weird technology that's being used in it.
Yeah.
I guess not that it's fictional. I guess I just need to think outside the box, and it's advanced technology meets, like, just an average arrow. So, yeah. Oh, another thing about the tribes is the tribe leaders are not male. They're actually, they said, grandmothers and great-grandmothers. So you have your lead protagonist as a female character, and then the lead tribes people are actually women as well.
Yeah, this is actually another callback to ancient human history, actually, because I know a lot about this sort of thing, and this is the way things used to be back in classical antiquity, and even before that, all human tribes.
The Egyptians, they worship female gods.
Yeah, they were all led by
even
women.
in Greek mythology, a lot of it was female gods.
So that's an interesting callback.
Yeah, that is very interesting. What else? What else do we got here, Nate? What do you want? Do you want anything else you want to talk about the tribes? Oh yeah, it states that the Nora are people that live in the mountains and the wooded area or foresty areas. Mm-hmm. And their favorite weapons are bows and like, I don't think they use a lot of technology in the Nora tribe itself. Right. Yet you do see Aloy.
I think that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, Aloy. You do see her using somewhat of futuristic looking weaponry. So, she shunned out of her village. And it did say there is a mechanic that you won't pick up followers in this game. But you will get to go to different tribes and get fetch missions, and if you complete certain tribes for certain tribe members, they'll reward you with, like, I'm assuming, like, high tier kind of weapons and stuff.
Right, because every tribe utilizes their own particular hunting and weapons. Right. So a part of the exploration of the game and getting farther would be visiting all these different tribes, because from what I read, all the tribes are going to be very distinct, and I like that idea.
Yeah, imagine as the two of us are playing this game, you're visiting different tribes than I am. So, therefore, you're getting different weapons than I am, depending on which tribe you pick to do the missions for. So, we're going to have completely different experiences.
Right, because we may not have said this, but this is an open world game.
It's an open world game. Yeah, I guess we should have addressed that.
Yeah.
Single player.
I guess they'll set us up, and then we'll be free to explore. And hopefully, I'm hoping we'll get gameplay flow like what we're promised with the upcoming Zelda game. Like you'll have the world to explore and have all these things to do, but it'll be up to you in what order you tackle them in, and what you'll get to progress and stuff like that. So that's exciting. I hope they go with that kind of gameplay flow for the game.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Another thing you're going to be doing in the game is like, we talked about like her figuring out who she is, like where she came from, but she's also trying to figure out who her mother was or is. Care to speculate on? You think her mother might be dead, or do you think her mother might be held captive
so
somewhere?
If I were going to pick a cliche that would fit this story, I would say that maybe her parents were from two conflicting tribes.
Oh, okay.
And so she would be an outcast because she's sort of a mixed breed between two different tribes. That would be my best guess if I had to speculate.
I like the sound of that. So would that indicate that her mother's like, they consider her like a traitor, so they killed her, or maybe like they're holding her captive somewhere?
Maybe she was cast out as well and wasn't allowed to be part of the tribe, so maybe you have to go find her at some point and learn about what happened and everything.
Yeah. Damn, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. Let's talk about the dinosaurs themselves. So depending on what area you're at in the world, kind of will dictate what animals you're going to see. So if you're near a lake, a lake or a body of water, it shows in the trailer a crocodile come out. When you get to the water's edge, and so it's a robotic crocodile. And then there's actual birds. There's birds that fly that are dinosaurs as well, robotic dinosaurs. And from the article, it says that each one like the mechanic is you kind of have to study because every animal serves a purpose.
Right, yeah.
And so by hacking it causes a certain event to happen, and so you have to study the animal's habits in order to know what that animal's role is. So
yeah, I like this mechanic. I like that you could just wander up on one of these machines and just watch it behaviorally and see what it does. And they say that every one of these creatures has a role to play in the environment. So, and they didn't really specify what these things are yet and what they do for the ecosystem, but it'll be really interesting to watch them. And because they've already discussed a few of the varieties, like the Velociraptor ones, that just have giant cameras for head basically, and they search around for things. And then there's another one that they mentioned that sounds like it probably is used for like cutting down trees and stuff like that, like the giant saber-toothed tiger thing. They say a little bit about. So yeah, I just that's gonna be cool, and you can get items off of them.
So basically, like in the trailer that they showed for the Sony conference, where she gets on top of the larger dinosaur and she hacks into it. So you're basically using the dinosaurs to your disposal to do your kind of dirty work, and each one will serve this purpose. So if you need a certain thing done, you hack that dinosaur, and you now have the ability to send it to do stuff for you, I'm assuming.
I think so. They did mention that there are going to be a variety of mounts, so a lot of these creatures we can expect to be able to jump on and hack into. So perhaps the Velociraptor type ones, you can hop on one of those and use it to search for a specific object and have it dial in to help you get there quicker and things of that nature. So and the really tall ones, I can't remember exactly what she did when she hacked it in the trailer, but maybe it was for finding like a specific point way far out and everything, because they're really tall and all that. So
yeah, I wonder almost if it how in Far Cry where when you fly around, Far Cry Primal specifically, when you fly around as the owl, you can scout out the area and then it'll like open up areas on your map. I wonder if it'll have that mechanic to where you possibly pick the dinosaur that can use the camera. Maybe it'll open up that area on your map and give you locations, show you tribes on your map, something in that nature.
I'd be willing to bet that that's how that mechanic
I hope it feels unique though. I hope it doesn't just feel like they just totally ripped the idea off and put it in the game, and it feels so Far Cry. You know what I mean? Like
there are some elements that they are borrowing from other games, but I think that's okay. They seem to be borrowing some of the best elements from all kinds of games and kind of mashing them together. So I think they've created a unique enough world that it'll work.
Absolutely. What else you got? What's in the second half of this article, Nate? You talked about the person that got to get some hands-on time with the game, and what their impressions were.
The article also went into the first couple hours of gameplay and how it works. One of the standout things was that conversations will have a dialogue wheel, so you'll get to kind of choose a little bit and guide the story in subtle ways. They mentioned that it's not going to be anywhere as near as deep as Witcher's 3 side quests, but it will be along that same line. So not only can you choose different paths and individual story elements, I think, but I think it also opens up side quests that you can do, and there was quite a bit of exploring done in the first gameplay where, say you would run across like a group of these machines or whatever they are, and you get spotted, you can actually retreat up a mountain into the forest side and lose track of them, and then pick them off from afar if you want to be stealthy about it. So there seems to be a variety of way that you can tackle these things and complete missions. You don't have to do everything a specific way. If you see a way that works for you, you can go that way and do it stealthy, or you can run in there and try to take them all down, run and gun style, it seems.
Likelihood of me being able to go in there and shotgun them down.
Well, we
Slim
don't
to
know.
none.
Probably, I would guess, probably
pretty slim. I like the sound of all that. So what I want to do now is kind of try to draw a picture as to how we think this game is going to kind of work. The early moments in the game leading up to like the end. So in the early moments of the game, I'm assuming you probably start off in a tribe. I don't know if it's going to be the Nora tribe or not.
Yes.
And then yes, right?
Yeah.
And then do we see her as a young character getting outcasted, you think? And then it kind of goes into... Because that's like how the trailer shows it.
From what I've read so far, I would be willing to bet that we're going to be introduced to her as an adult. In the couple hours that the interviewer got to play the game, it's you're going through a rite of passage that allows you to become a hunter. So that's how they're going to introduce us to the gameplay mechanics. Is you'll
inside the tribe shooting at like dummy targets, right?
No, nothing like that. Because you're already an outcast by this point, and you're being taught by another outcast from the tribe. But if she passes this test, apparently she gets to become part of the tribe again. So there's a little bit of story going on between these two characters. But you're immediately thrown into actual hunting and tracking and all that, so there's no that you're going to be fighting dummies for the first part of the game or anything like that. So yeah, that part is going to be definitely in the beginning of the game, I think, where you'll be introduced to the tribe you came from. You'll be introducing to the hunting mechanics.
I was going to say, hunting and gathering is probably going to be where the game has a grind. So probably in order to upgrade weapons and stuff, like other than just outright get upgraded weapons through doing it through different tribes, I'm assuming you'll be able to maybe like these crocodile or the hostile type of dinosaurs. I wonder if like there's a system where you're pulling parts off of those in order to upgrade parts of your bow and arrow or your spear. Yes, right?
I think that is definitely a mechanic, because I know you can get items from the machines, and I'm pretty sure... I heard that the crafting system is very fluid in the game. If you're going around and you need arrows, apparently if you already have the items you need to make arrows, that's a one-button press that will replenish your arrow stock. So you don't have to open up a menu and go through and select all the ingredients you need. As long as you have those ingredients, you can quickly create more arrows on the fly.
What game did a really good job of that too? Primal.
Yeah.
It kept you in the game. Like, there were so many different weapons and ammo to craft, but it did it so well. You would just pull up the wheel and depending on what you needed to craft, just highlight it and hit X. Like
Yeah.
it was super fluid, and that helps you stay immersed in the game. Just it keeps you in the world. No one likes such a beautiful world. I don't want to be stuck in the menus trying to craft
Right,
things.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I do understand that if I get like a high tier weapon, like there may be some degree of chilling in the menus, like putting it all together, and I'm fine with that because it's like it's probably somewhat difficult to get that tier weapon. So I definitely want to take my time putting it together and things like that. But yeah, the ammo and all that stuff. Yeah, don't keep me in the menus if I ain't got to.
Right. Yeah.
I like the sound of it. Now, one interesting thing about the game is the traps. We saw in the E3 demo where she sets a trap, and then there's like somewhat of like a helium balloon that puts the trap in place, and then she doubles back around and she shoots, and it causes an explosion right when the dinosaur gets near it and takes down the dinosaur. So then she can then mount it, and she sticks her staff right in it. So let's talk about the trapping system. Like, what do you know about that? Do we know much about that?
From what I read, the opening sequence will be kind of trap heavy, I think.
Okay.
I'd be willing to bet that the trap system will be one of the main staples of combat because we're facing enemies that are so much bigger and threatening than we are.
Right.
I'd be willing to bet that the first thing you're always going to want to do is set down traps in order to slow them down or tie them up or whatever you have at your disposal to get to their weak points.
You're really, like, the way you're describing this and the way we talked about, like, getting these parts needed off of, vicious dinosaurs, I'm getting a real Monster Hunter vibe.
Yeah.
And I'm liking that.
Yeah.
Now, Monster Hunter, it had, like, a superficial idea that where you'd set down a net and some barrels and it'd get stuck in there and you'd go to town. I'm assuming this will probably be a little bit more intuitive to where, like, larger dinosaurs, the explosion will cause maybe two of the legs to malfunction, and it'll go down on one side, and maybe then you can, like, get some type of vicious attack on it.
Yeah, and it seems like the AI is really good in this game too, because there was one encounter where the player set down a trap and the creature that they were fighting jumps over the trap, clears it to attack them.
Oh, nice.
So not all of the enemies are going to fall right into traps. You may have to course them to get into traps, or they're just not going to fall for it. So there'll be a little bit of strategy involved, I'm hoping, once you start taking on certain enemies. Certain enemies will probably be more wary of certain things. So that is a great opportunity to add more depth to the gameplay and to keep, a trap system like this from getting too tiring. Every time you encounter a new type of enemy, you'll have to figure out a new way to lure it into a trap, find its weakness, and take it down.
That's great. That seems to be a big focus in the game, is like learning your enemy, stalking your enemy, learning its like weaknesses or ways to manipulate the enemy, and bait them into your traps, and then just exploit them.
Yeah.
Like I love this. I love the idea of just kind of that wait and see approach, learn the enemy, and then figure out how to beat them. Like, that is Monster Hunter in a nutshell.
Right. That gameplay loop worked really well for Metal Gear Solid, the Phantom Pain. That's probably why I played that game so long, is because you can take a slow approach to combat and set up traps and everything. If they emulate that style just even a little bit, I'm completely sold on.
Just to the degree.
To the degree, I'll be sold on this experience, hands down.
Yeah. Something else I want to talk about is the different, like how climate will change, and like how the visual presentation. So, this game will take place in mountainous, snowy regions. It'll take place in nice foresty regions, like we saw in the trailer, where she has her bow and arrow and she's deep, thick in the forest, and it looked gorgeous. Specifically in the trailer, where you kind of see the skyscrapers and ruins. Man, this is probably the the best looking PlayStation 4 game I have seen.
Yes. If they can manage to keep up this visual fidelity until the final product, it looks damn good. Like,
yeah.
It'll be able to hold the torch to Witcher 3 any day of the week, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then full day and night cycles.
Yeah, gotta have that.
That's
if
so.
you're gonna have open world.
You know what I hope? I hope like when you get right around dusk, right before the sun's officially set, being around a water's edge, I hope there's not dragonflies, fireflies. Yes. Please give me some fireflies, man.
I'm right there with you on that one.
Yeah, dude, I haven't seen a firefly in over a decade. There's none down here in the state of Florida, and if there is, I haven't seen.
Oh, they're around. I got some around my apartment.
Really?
Yeah.
I
live next to a lake though, so.
I used to love catching them and putting them in a jar. That'd be cool if you could make like a lantern in the game that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, man, we gotta hit Guerilla Games up on that idea.
Yes.
Put it in the game now. I mean, you got plenty of time, right? It's out this February. Oh yeah, by the way, it's out in February.
We hope. Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope. It's already been delayed. It was supposed to be Sony's holiday heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for giving themselves some extra polish time and getting it out of that crowded holiday. Mm-hmm. I love this game being a February release. It seems to me like that's a really good time to launch a game is February now because it's not as crowded, although now it's starting to be kind of like a trend that it is.
Well, yeah, because a lot of holiday titles got pushed back already, so the space after the holidays is getting a little crowded this year, specifically for Sony, because they've lost so many of their first party titles to the first quarter of next year. But you know, it still is a good time because, you know, during the holidays, you'll get your gift games. You'll be done playing them in a couple of months. And then this will be a fresh new game coming out right around the corner for you to pick up. So, yeah, I think it is a good time to launch this game.
I agree. And to kind of wrap up the podcast, I wanted to talk about your thoughts as to how important you think this game is for Sony.
It is important.
Because we talked a little bit off camera, and I told you my feelings on it. I think that this is the most important game for Sony this generation. Like, they tried to make the Order 1866 their marquee, like, new IP, the reason to buy the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And it just kind of came out with abysmal results. Like, you know, it was a short game, a little superficial. People were saying the story wasn't great, so they tried with the Order. What other new IPs has Sony had
this year? Not a whole lot.
I'm saying this generation.
This generation is still not
anything. And then you have The Last Guardian, which is not technically a new IP. It's a spiritual successor to Ico and Shadows of the Colossus.
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing great things about that game so far. I hear it's buggy and it's got some issues and it feels old. I mean, it's been in development for 10 years. So that's probably not going to be their marquee game.
No, not at all.
I still don't think Sony has its new IP that you have to buy a PlayStation 4 in order to play. So I think this is the first game that has that potential to be like, you know, anyone that was like waiting to buy a PlayStation 4 because they're like, you know, there's just still not that game that speaks to me that I have to have a PlayStation. I think this game has that potential.
It really does. This is a new, unique experience, you know, we're going to say. I mean, it does borrow a lot from other franchises, but it puts us in a world that we've never seen before.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. If they can win us over with this world, and sure, the gameplay mechanics might not be that great, if the world is good, we'll want to be in there and we'll stay in there and we'll want to see more of it. And it looks like they've done a great job in crafting the story and the lore of the world. Mm-hmm. So this is a very important game for Sony because this is, in my opinion, a fantastic new IP to launch with, or not launch with, but to have out there. And they've got to get this one right, I think.
They got to get it right. It's interesting to see like how many new IPs that we've had this generation that just haven't done well. Because we already talked about the Order 1866.
Right.
And then over on the Xbox side, Recore didn't do that great.
Right. Yeah.
What was that other one? Quantum Break didn't do that.
Right. The Division's not.
Yeah, the
good.
Division kind of came and went. It wasn't a bad game. It just wasn't a game that they were calling it the Destiny Killer, and that it's not the Destiny Killer.
None of these games are particularly bad games, but they haven't engaged the audience with a kind of level that you would hope that a new IP would have.
Not a single one of them would be a reason to go out and buy a console.
Right. I would never recommend any of these games like, oh yeah, if you want to get a PlayStation 4, you definitely got to pick up, the Division.
Yeah.
No, like maybe Uncharted 4, but if you really want a new next-gen experience, I think this is going to be the game to have.
I think so, man. And I got a lot of hope for this game. You have a lot of hope for this game. We talk a lot about curbing your expectations. I don't think this is a game you really got to do that with. I'm pretty sure it's going to come out.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be nothing less than great. And I think it has the potential to be the end-all, be-all this gen. That, like, you have to go out and you have to buy a PlayStation 4 to play this game. I think it has that potential.
It definitely does.
Everything I'm seeing, everything I'm reading, like, it looks like it's that game.
It's from a proven developer. It's got a unique experience, and
yeah,
it's got everything that we expect from modern gaming. It's open world. I mean, it has all the pieces to make a great franchise.
Yeah, and we talked about when a new IP comes out in this day and age, it's kind of like with the first one, they put it out there. They build the engine, they build the game, and a lot of times you don't end up with the best game in the world. But as long as it sells well, usually the developer or the manufacturer will go back and put out a sequel and fix the things that were wrong in the first one. Like we'll probably see an Order 1866 sequel because the game's beautiful. It's built. They created the world. Now they can fix things that didn't really come into fruition the first game through. But this game, if they can get all those elements right out of the gate with the first one, and I talked to you about this, the sequel is where you can start adding more mechanics like a co-op feature, because this game screams co-op, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine how fun it would be to kind of triangulate an area, because we talked about learning enemies' mechanics and how to manipulate them and penetrate them. Imagine being able to do that with a buddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? To where you can cause a distraction and then I can flame.
Yeah.
So, tons of potential in the future. I hope this is the game they get right the first time. Brand new IP. I think Sony could crush it with it. I'm super optimistic. You're super optimistic. We shall see if it is the end-all, be-all, and the reason to go out and buy a PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get that visual enhancement.
Yeah, this might be a good game to start with your PS Pro.
Yeah, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us on our special edition Horizon Zero Dawn podcast. We do a podcast each and every Tuesday. Also, over on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups, the Square Gamers. Just look for Square Gamers on Facebook. I never know how to say that.
Yeah.
Just go to Facebook, on the search bar, look for the Square Gamers. We got a really cool group of individuals over there. We also have two other guys that put on another podcast, the Square Gamers podcast. They love talking about Dark Souls and sports. So go check them out. That's Pedro and Mike over there. Check their content out. Really good content. Get in the conversation. If there's any news in the video game world, we have it in that group. You will not miss. We don't miss a beat. We move fast in that group, and we have a lot of good conversations. So join us over there, and we'll see you next Tuesday, guys. Later.